Clarke County regular Board of Education meeting will now come to order. Ms. McNamara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Payne.
Here.
Mrs. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Parks.
Here.
Mrs. Ellis.
Here.
Mr. Worthy.
Here.
Mrs. Williams.
Here.
Mr. Huff. Mrs. Thornton.
Here.
Here. Okay. At this time, I'd like for you to stand, join us in a moment of silent meditation. We'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any amendments to the agenda? Any amendments to the agenda?
No amendments, President Worthy, this evening.
Okay, I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please. A motion moved by Ms. Williams. I have a second on that, second by Ms. Davis. All in favor? Okay, thank you very much. Before I move the agenda any further here, Happy New Year to all. And we have a new board member with us tonight. He's not so new. He's a retired educator, in fact, from this school district, and he's been attending board meetings on a regular basis. Mr. Greg Davis, would you stand and wave for the crowd?
That's right, here we are. You're here.
All right,
Different landscape on that side of the table now.
It is.
A different landscape.
Okay, recognition of achievements and awards. We do have 6 awards tonight, I believe. Vanessa, step forward, please.
And just a note, we're going to just procedurally do this a little bit different, as Dr. Freeman is going to help Anissa distribute the awards and allow all board members to give full attention to our awardees on a regular basis.
All right. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent, and members of the board. Tonight, I am pleased to honor many outstanding individuals from the Clarke County School District tonight. Honorees, when I call your name, please come forth, accept your certificate, and shake all of the board members' hands. Tonight, we will be recognizing the winners of the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce's first ever Young Entrepreneur Awards contest. And Clarke Middle School students swept this contest. 4 Clarke Middle School students, all young women, were among the 50 Clarke County School District 8th graders who made an attempt at the Chamber honor. And this contest is an initiative of the Chamber's new Education Committee. And so we are very pleased to recognize these students tonight. First up is the first place winner, Valeria Garcia Pozo. And we'll have the students stand right here for just a moment while I tell you about their project so they get to hear, because these are really incredible. Valeria's business idea was a computer app linking cancer patients, their families, their caregivers, and their doctors with information and other support linked to their specific concerns about the disease. She was inspired to develop the app as a result of a situation within her family. Her mom was diagnosed with breast cancer when she was 10. So she has made a difference for her family, and she has the potential to make a difference for families all over. And she received $250, a plaque, and the first place award was sponsored by Colwell Banker Upchurch Realty. Congratulations, Valeria.
Yes, it's so awesome.
Great job. Very proud of you. Fantastic.
Great job. That was awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations. So proud.
Second place went to the team effort of Alice Watson and Sadia Hoke. And they can stand here, and I'll tell you that they created a body positive concept. It includes both a clothing line and a magazine aimed at combating the unrealistic body image issues with which many young women struggle. The idea is that the clothes would be made to flatter a variety of body types, and the magazine would include information designed to help girls accept themselves just as they are. As second place winners, they split a $100 cash award sponsored by Jackson Spalding. Congratulations.
Ladies look good. That's real good. That's great. That was a great idea. Congratulations. That was a great idea.
It's so creative. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Awesome. Great idea. I love it. Congratulations. What a great idea.
Ladies, congratulations.
And the third place winner was Haviland Ford. And she developed an idea for taking recycling to the next level. Her proposal called for the creation of recycling collection containers that would actually begin the recycling process, automatically separating the recyclable materials dumped into them and then grinding them up. And she received a plaque and $50 sponsored by Kofer's Home and Garden Showplace. Congratulations, Haviland. All of the contest participants were required to research their ideas, come up with a business plan, including a one-page paper on how their product or service would be marketed, and to produce a short video on their proposal. So this was much more than coming up with an idea. It was really an entire researched business plan. So we want to congratulate them. And we also wanted to recognize Sean Hinger and Michelle Vecchio Weinmeister. They advised the students. They couldn't be here, but we just handed off their certificates to Principal Tad McMillan, who is ever supportive of his students' endeavors. Thank you for being here, Tad. Again, congratulations to all of our winners. You continue to make us proud to be CCSD.
Dr. Lanu?
Yeah, and as well, just congratulations. I mean, we listened to your projects. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yes.
But I think what you're leading for right now is the whole concept of entrepreneurship. And if you didn't know that, let me reinforce the fact that the entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well in Athens. And in fact is really well grounded in Athens and is probably going to be what I think heightened the most exciting direction for us to go. And if you keep going in this direction, we'll be reading about you in a year or in just a year. But just being really thoughtful and is pretty amazing. We're really proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lanu. You can continue with your superintendent's report.
I will. I'll sort of blend right into that. John Zahner is here. It is the president of our association, GSSA. I just want to say a couple words, and that's to Mr. Zahner. You know, thank you for all you've done for all of us in terms of supporting leadership across the state. And I know you've traveled here and there today to come join us. I'm just going to turn it over to you because I think it probably involves me. So I'm not going to.
I know you.
I'm not going to say anymore.
I know you very well, Phil. Thank you for inviting me on behalf of GSSA, Mr. Board President Worthy, Madam Vice President Ellis. I'm a former superintendent, so I know who to recognize right away. And then I come over to the remaining board members and thank you for your service and congratulations to join the party, because it's going to be very interesting, I'm sure. On behalf of GSSA, and I don't know if I was duped to get to be here, because I was told that the original award that I did give you broke, fell apart in some way.
Disconnected.
Okay.
How would that be?
Somehow it fell apart, so I had to reorder one. And that's why I'm here tonight, is to represent the award to Dr. Lanu for being selected out of 4 finalists, but out of a total of 30 participants who were recommended by their boards. And I want to make that very clear. The boards of education recommend the superintendent for this award. And through going through the application, those that are on the committee are former Superintendent of the Year award winners. So they know what to look for in the application. And we had 4 great finalists. I'm going to be quite honest with you. Any one of them could have been chosen. But Dr. Lanu was chosen. And you go next week, I believe, as also a national finalist, which we have nothing to do with. That is totally up to AASA, who is our parent organization. And they make that selection, and you were selected as a national finalist. So congratulations to you, your board, and the school community, because I think that represents quite an honor, quite frankly. I never got there as a superintendent, so I'm jealous. But congratulations, Superintendent Lanou and board members. And I'll walk over there. You don't have to walk over here to present you. Be careful with it, okay?
I'm going to give it to Terry.
I'm not gonna get you another one.
I'll glue it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, John, and again, thank you for taking the trip up here. And as we've said over and over again, this just reflects the collective work of all of us. I mean, we wouldn't be in this place if it wasn't for the board, making and supporting the decisions to help lead this district. Obviously, the staff that we have here, our building leaders, certainly our teachers. What happens in our classroom? And I'm going to go to our students. It really is about your work. And your work is our work. So we're in a good place. We got a lot of work to do, but couldn't be more proud to be in a community as Clarke County. So thank you very much, and thank you.
And I'm not being rude, but I do need to go home because
Go.
I haven't been home for a while.
You need to go. And the others, the warders, can please feel free. If you want to hang around for the board, that's okay. But I know you have homework and other things. Feel free to take care of that business. So if you want to do it at this time, it's okay. Okay. And thank you, Mr. McMillan. You're pretty proud tonight, I'm sure. Should be. A couple other items under superintendent's report. The first, let's just talk about the whole concept, because it was brought up about our board report structure. Typically now we have the director's report from Mr. Payne. Yep, just forgot a scarf. And so one of the questions that have been posed. Oops. Got it? Okay. Got the scar. We're good. One of the questions that have been posed is whether we should expand that because board members go to a number of functions. We have other standing committees and groups. And would it be important to either have a larger set list so that board members have an opportunity to share and report out on some of the work they're doing, and it could range from, do we want a brief report on committees that have met, that are standing committees? Do we want to set reports that are flexible, that we submit in advance like agenda because you've been to a particular event that's worth sharing as a board report? I think probably if you look back, we could do a better job of sharing that and maybe have a new structure. So I'd just like your thoughts of, one, whether we should increase the standing reports that at least I list. It doesn't mean they have to give them, but there's an opportunity, and what those might be. And should we consider that if a board member wants to report on something that they've been involved in from their capacity, can we add that as part of our agenda building, which we do with the president and vice president? Does that make sense? So just reactions to that.
Sure.
Reactions. Thoughts?
Well, normally when I travel, of course, Mr. Payne does too, to the NSBA, we bring a report back. So I think you're right on target with that.
So the first question, I guess, let me start with standing committees.
Okay.
Or standing reports. Right now we have PAB, which is a board member goes. Should we add that as a standing report? If there's no PAB meeting or nothing report, but we put it on our list. Mm-hmm. And the other one question, and I'm not sure this is what we should do or not. The other one is that we do have committees. Our policy committee, we've got a legislative committee, we've got finance committee, we've got property committee. Is there some value to adding those list of committees to have an opportunity to indicate to the whole board if they had a committee meeting? Is there any pertinent information that they feel they need to share with the full board? Because there's not really a good way to get that information from committees unless you read the minutes.
Yeah.
So,
Dr. Lou, I think that all the committees, the report is printed in our, we can read it off the e-pad.
yeah. And you can, I think because we have like the director's report that's verbal. I'm just trying to think, is there a reason why if we all can read reports, but for board members specifically, is it valuable that they have an opportunity to verbalize it?
Yeah, well,
That's all.
I have some reports from my 15 school district, and you have me down here for the night, but I won't be able to make that report until the next board meeting.
Right.
Because I'm in the process of visiting my 15
Sure.
schools now.
So I think what
So
we're
the
probably.
answer,
Go ahead, sorry.
sorry,
I'll let you.
thank you. I think it would be very valuable because it, again, kind of brings more transparency to what's happening in our meetings. And since we can't all meet and go to all of the committee meetings, a synopsis would be great. I think we do a good job with the policy committee because we either bring things forward and the full board has to see those. Finance, we always get Larry's report, we hear from them. But again, property committee, we have no idea what's going on there until something hits the table. So it would be nice to have an opportunity to vet some things before we have to make a decision.
Or to share with the public.
Correct, and I also think it'd be valuable, even though policy is much more out there. I agree completely. But sometimes there are policies that we need the rest of the board to weigh in on, and that would be an opportunity for that discussion. I think it'd be nice to talk about what happened in a PAB meeting, and just to have a place card for that if there was something brought up that was worth mentioning, that was important to mention back, or just to even mention what the topic of conversation was, and the mood, and how the parents were receptive to that. I just think it'd be nice to have a couple of different people, tell them what they're doing. And it's a good, like, letter E or whatever. Board reports would be a great place just to have your travel reports, Mr. Payne and Mr. Worthy, when y'all go to NSBA, and the rest of us when we go to GSBA and different things like that. So it just feels like an organizational tool and a place to be able to report back on the things we're doing.
I also think it's a good idea. I think that our constituents think we come here Thursday and Thursday, and we do nothing else but come here that first and second Thursday. And we are meeting in and out of the month. And I think when we sit here, it just looks like we're going through a routine. And people would like to know that we are involved, we are being articulate. And many of us go, I know Carol goes to a lot more stuff than I do. But I do think that even our constituents and our voters would like to see that we're like not just robots sitting up here rubber stamping stuff.
So we're talking about having this in the actual board meeting
Yes.
rather than the workshop. Is that what you're saying?
And just kind of a permanent place on the agenda.
I think it's twofold. It informs the board and informs the public. And you're right. I think the last thing we want to do is to have an hour and 2 hours of board reports. I mean, that would get rounded out.
No.
But I'm wondering if maybe as a start, and we can evaluate it. It's not like it's set in stone. What would happen is if I put all of the standing committees, do you know what I mean, with the chair, that they would report out on any work that they thought was pertinent from committees that may not have gotten to this piece, right? And if there's a board member that wants to report out on a conference they went to, we'd ask that be placed like we put agenda items.
That's
It would
right.
go to Amy or Terry a week beforehand, so when we sit down to do the tentative work session, you know what I mean? Or we could possibly even add it at the work session, I guess. But we just have a process that we don't just say, okay, anybody got any, it has to be anything tonight. But we'll deliver. We go through our subcommittees and any particular report. If it's NSBA, we get a particular report. If it's a conference that went to on entrepreneurship, I'd like to report out on that. Would that make sense? So it's
Great.
structured. We don't deviate from the.
I like that idea, and I think being able to call ahead of the meeting and getting on the agenda, that will keep people from rambling.
Right.
You know, somebody
Yeah.
may have this great idea and they want to just talk about it, but it needs to be on the agenda.
And we may start looking, it's going to be on the agenda, and we may put some time limits, so it's okay.
Right.
You know,
Right.
maybe what would this be is you can put them ahead of time for the work session, and we can allow that if there's anything at the work session that someone's add that we don't have, that we'd allow us, we could simply add. Let's keep it an informal process, but formality when it gets onto the agenda, and we can just evaluate it.
Great.
So we're talking PAB, we're talking NSBA, and obviously GSBA.
We got
We've
to
done
do-
that all
right.
along, and the standing committees.
Yeah.
And I like what you said in terms of pertinent information.
Right.
You know,
We should keep it,
not something to waste folks' time.
that's right.
Okay.
It's an interesting, I want you to know that, I don't know if everyone's heard of the presentation style Ignite. It's a very interesting presentation that is exactly 5 minutes. And I'm not saying we do this, but when we talk about how we ramble, this is really interesting. It's a slide presentation where the slides are timed, 15 seconds each. And so the speaker, you can't click the slide. You got 15 seconds to go to each side. You design it around a set amount of time. So it's called Ignite, which means it's fast, it's furious, it's right to the point. I'm not saying we do that for our board reports, but it just made me think about how we ramble. There are some things we can do that are quite interesting. And I ought to practice them myself. So.
Yeah, we're gonna cue that slide.
All right, go.
Okay.
I would just say to add on to this is one of the things that having been on the policy committee, but not on the policy committee now, is that, you know, when these policies come before us, it's nice when you're in the committee, you kind of, you know, the staff kind of tells you, well, why this policy is here. What, you know, a lot of the time it's just something to do with the legislature, and we have to do it, you know. But that, I don't know, that may be getting too deep into the weeds for a board meeting. But if you could do that in maybe a little more than 15 seconds, but but that does put more context and information out there as to what we're doing. So that's such a big piece of what we do.
I'd say, I mean, it's not like it's set in stone, let's try it, but I think after we do it once, we ought to say how, during our work session, how to go. Do you know what I mean? To be honest with ourselves, so. Okay, I'll work on that, Terry will work on that, we'll already put that, for the next work session, we'll put those sub-kitties and PAP and put them in there. Okay? One other piece, and Board Member Huff asked me to talk a little bit about Future Ready and Ed Connect, and that was my visit to the White House just before Thanksgiving. You know, what did that all mean? And in some of the literature that Mr. Worthy's going to just probably talk about, that he's put at our table, that the Future Ready was an initiative that was connected to President Obama's Ed Connect, which is that every student in the next 4 years are going to be connected on the internet and be able to access information and courses and connect with each other. I mean, that's what it was about. And it was a pretty amazing trip because there was, I think, 120 of us that were selected from around the country to be part of that consortia. We spent a day there. The morning began with President Obama actually releasing some of his top advisors, economic advisors, policy individuals to speak about what's happening around our country and what's their plan. It was followed by a meeting with the president in the East Wing. I would say honestly, I am not typically one that gets autographs or look to that, but it was pretty amazing to be at the East Wing with the president within 15 feet or whatever, and for the president to address 120 superintendents specifically about their role of Future Ready for the students of this country. So we did that, and then as part of that whole piece, he spoke to us for about 25 minutes. We took a pledge. It's called the Future Ready Pledge. It's one that we had taken. We had our iPads out. We all took it with him. And what it was our commitment to connecting all of our students in this country in the next 4 years. As a result of that, there were two others, the superintendent of Clayton and the superintendent of Hall County were there as well, and we initiated with help with Anissa. We drafted a letter from the three of us being Future Ready to our colleagues. It was sent out with GSBA and GSSA that our commitment for Georgia is that we'd pledge to connect our kids in the next 4 years. And it's quite amazing when you look up at the map. It's flickering, and it rolls through the counties and the districts that are coming online. And so it's a counter, and it counts them. So that was pretty exciting, and we formed our own network, and I assume the next move is that we'll be part of a regional consortia to begin to have conversations like we are about connecting our students. And then the afternoon was spent with several hours with our Secretary of Education, Artie Duncan, really talking about some of the questions that, or some of the concerns that we have about national policy and testing and et cetera. So two things. One, just to be in that ability to interact with that, and I was able to do so, and you know I don't be quiet, so and not quiet, but also the ability to network and already have a cadre of people around this country that range from the smallest region in Alaska to Massachusetts to Louisiana to North Dakota. It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
So, anyway, I hope that gives you a sense, because I haven't had a chance to really talk about that because we were so busy in December. But certainly was an exciting experience for me professionally, but it certainly is exciting for education. I know that's the direction we're going. So that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Lanou. I have one item here under the superintendent's report. Board members, at your place, you will find an article that I read from Time Magazine, and it's connecting to what Dr. Lanou said a few minutes ago.
I read it. Wonderful article.
And to be honest with you, we didn't have a conversation about this.
No.
I just so happened to read this article from Time Magazine here on paperless classroom is coming. And of course, underline on that first page that is front and back, and exactly what he talked about a few minutes ago in terms of what President Obama is planning to initiate in the next 4 years. But anyway, I encourage you to read it. I found it really interesting, and this is why I wanted to share it with all of the board members. I was talking with Ms. Ellis about it on Monday when we met with the superintendent to go over the agenda, and she asked me to please give her a copy, but I said, well, I'm not going to be selfish. I'm going to share it with the others too. So I encourage you to read it, okay? Thank you very much. Okay, Dr. Lanou, we're going to move the agenda. We're going down. Ms. Payne, you don't have a report tonight. You said we're down to item F.
Yeah. I have a question. With this new legislative committee, one of the things that needs to happen with this committee, and they can be proactive in all of the legislation going to be meeting, and one of the things that needs to happen, whenever you have district, I have 15 school superintendents and board presidents that I meet with, and one of the things that I find is very hard then to the small district is the fact that we're talking about, now Clarke County is moving ahead with technology. We're doing well, but some of those small districts are not. And one of the things the legislators need to do, and people in Washington, D.C., they need to have enough money for those people to have the hire people to come in there to help them to get started with this program.
Good, and that's what I was saying a few minutes ago, Mr. Payne.
That's what
This
need to happen.
article is underlined there, and that's what the president planning to do.
Yeah.
Well,
Mr. Payne, because Mr. Payne is correct, and there's already a movement across our state, from the governor's office to the legislators that I wish I had a visual, but I don't. But if you can picture this, there's 4 levels, and the first level was to bring internet capabilities to every school district to a head end, or call it your central office. The level 2 was to bring internet from that head end out to your buildings. The third level is, once it gets in the building, is do your wireless routers, and the 4th level was is the devices. The state put $36 million in the grants, and we did receive $500,000 this year to put into our project. So I feel really good that the state has made a commitment, and I thank Bob Swigum. It's not enough yet.
No.
But they have started that they have increased our bandwidth for every school district for free by 300% already, and that's for free, and that will come in 15. So I think the state. I give a lot of credit to our state. We always can move faster, but I think we're moving in the right direction, and there's a very clear plan of funding each one of those levels. I'm not sure we'll ever get to level 4, which is the devices, but my piece is if we got devices, something else ought to go. And do you know what I mean? And so that's really districts
Okay,
should
all
be really deciding how to leverage their own local resources.
We always seem to be ahead of the curve sometimes as far as the state is with technology, just because I guess with Clarke County. Are we with the rollout that we've done this year, are we evaluating how we're doing? Is there any way that we know how well the rollout is thus far?
Yeah, well, and I don't have.
And that might be a report.
Well, we do. I mean, I want you to know that I have a rating. We have a rating scale that I'm using right now as part of our impact check. When I meet with each schools, that talks about our rating with the one-to-one initiative itself in terms of access, and the second is around instructional design. We have a team. We meet today. We meet every week, every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks with Dr. Freeman, Ted, Larry, Mr. Hamill. I mean, we go through all of the issues that we've seen because we still have them. But we're walking schools, and we feel really good at where we are in terms of our one-to-one rollout. I mean, in terms of our access. I mean, because we have surveys that schools have given. We do that with principals. That's part of my check with them. Now, in terms of what does that mean for test score, I don't have that. Do you know what I mean? I do know clearly about the level of engagement has increased dramatically. We talk about this all the time.
Are we looking at the level of engagement? I think Ms. Farmer had spoke about the after-school programs with the kids that are going in for tutoring and using the devices. Are we looking at those programs that kids are not using them at home but using them in other settings?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now here's what we're looking at is that the whole piece about connectivity, and that is, do I have internet access? I mean, that's kind of the question. In our surveys, our access, whether it's through an iPhone or et cetera, is pretty high. It's like 90-something%. Wow. And even with internet connection access, I call access to access. I can't guarantee that when you get out of bed in the morning you can get access, but I want to make sure you have access to access. Mm-hmm. So our schools are surveying their individuals. I met with teachers the other day. I said, do you know who has access and who doesn't? Yes, and we're pretty clear that not to sign internet activities if I can't have someone access at home, but we have a download feature, so we're downloading our content. I think that's going to be a full-scale evaluation when we get all the data, because we're still got some rollout. I mean, like Gaines is still going to roll out in January, just because of parent involvement.
Well, maybe one of the things staff can do is visit some of these sites and see firsthand what is going on with the devices.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Greg?
Go ahead, Greg.
The concern, because you mentioned the 4 levels, and I do put the 5th level in terms of the technology as having it in the community. And that's a political issue because it involves businesses and that type of thing. But is there, when you went to the meeting in the White House, was there some recognition that having computer access throughout a community can make a big impact in terms of our youth? I mean, I know it's beyond the scope of...
Yeah, if I probably looked at the individuals I was conversation, and I'm just saying this roughly, I think we were probably in the top 10% in terms of accessing computers. I mean, it ranged all the way from some individuals having no access and no devices yet, but a plan. But I also spoke to people in the far regions of Alaska, and she figured out how to get access, and it ranged from some very creative ways. I think there's another piece about access we have to look at is 4G. And again, we're still waiting on our second round for this grant with AT&T, and so I think before we go to that next piece, it's going to be interesting how 4G is going to play in this whole piece of access. I really think that's going to be a real strong analysis at the end of the year, is where our kids at. I think I'll be better prepared to do that because we're still rolling out one-to-one. But as far as those that I met with, was that a conversation about access? Not strong. I said, figure it out. And that wasn't a blocker. That wasn't a reason to say no. They forged right ahead. And I didn't get any sense of a mass movement of a community to do access. But I'm not sure, Greg, I probably tapped into the, I don't think I asked that question of everyone, just didn't have a chance. But there's some creative things. Someone that had wireless on buses and parked the buses in different neighborhoods on different nights.
Wow.
So I think we have an opportunity to look at some wireless access points in certain neighborhoods on buildings. And we've already talked about that as a possible solution. I don't think I'm gonna park a bus. I think we can just plant one over there, but.
Okay.
All right.
Right, you finished, Ms. Payne?
Yes, I'm finished.
Okay, then, well, let's see, we don't have any other questions pertaining to that. We're gonna move the agenda to item F.
Policy regulations for public review for 4 weeks. Any questions? There's none. None, sorry. There aren't any questions. There aren't any policies? Okay.
No.
Action items, minutes from previous meeting.
Okay, the minutes from the previous meetings, we had 3 meetings there. We read the minutes, and of course, I entertain a motion for approval. Okay, Mr. Parks?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes with an amendment to correct the regular meeting minutes from December the 11th to reflect on the legislative committee that Ms. Williams would be on the committee rather than Ms. Davis, which is, I believe, the accurate reflection.
Okay, you've heard the motion from Mr. Parks that he's making a motion to approve the minutes with the necessary corrections to have Ms. Carol Williams on the legislative committee rather than Ms. Linda Davis, and it was really just a typo, okay? So you've heard that motion. I have a second to that motion. Second from Ms. Ellis. Any further questions? Any further questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Okay.
Recommend approval of the financial report
Okay, the financial report.
for November.
Okay, for November. Need a motion for approval. Moved by Ms. Davis. Got a second on that? Second from Ms. Thorne. Any questions pertaining to the financial committee? I'm sorry, financial report. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay.
Recommend approval of the policies as stated that have been up for public view for 4 weeks.
Okay, a recommendation from the superintendent on approval of these policies that have been out for review to the public for 4 weeks. A motion on that, moved by Mr. Payne. Got a second on that? Second from Ms. Thornton. Any questions pertaining to these policies? Any questions? All in favor? Okay, motion passed.
Regulations are not voted on, but are there any questions or concerns regarding regulations? If none, they will go into effect to support the policies.
Any questions on these 3 regulations? Yes, it's 3. Any questions? Okay, Dr. Leonard.
Okay, recommend approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, the consent agenda, recommendation from the superintendent for approval. Have a motion on that, moved by Mr. Payne. You second that, Ms. Davis?
Yes.
All righty, all righty. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, item 10, Dr. Leonard.
Well, I'll do number 10 is pest control service contract. You know, we stopped one contract with pest control, right, Ted? And we have another one. And so this is to approve the award for pest control services contract to Hausman Services, Inc. in the amount of $1,250 monthly. And I think you can read the rest of that recommendation.
Okay, this is on the pest control contract, which is at $1,250. Recommendation from the superintendent. I have a motion on that. Moved by Mr. Payne. Got a second on that? Second from Ms. Ellis. Any questions pertaining to item 10, pest control service contract? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you very much.
So following suit, recommend approval of the award of the fire ant service contract to Houseman Services. That'd be for $840 a month. Maybe not many ants, maybe ants are a little slow today, but not tomorrow.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation from the superintendent on the ant control service. That's back with Houseman. Yeah, $840 per month. I need a motion on that. Okay, moved by Ms. Ellis. Got a second on that? Second from Mr. Parks. Okay, any questions pertaining to item 11? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Item 12.
That's to approve the award for the intercom system service to Transend Communication for the amount of $125 an hour labor repair costs.
Okay, that's on intercom system service for plant services, I believe. That's item 12. Recommendation from the superintendent on that. Now, what is that, $125 per hour? Okay. All righty. Got a motion on that? Got a motion on that? Moved by Ms. Ellis. Got a second on that? Second by Mr. Payne. Any questions pertaining to item 12? Any questions? All in favor? That motion passed unanimously. Item 13.
The next one, and this is, I call it on and off again. This is one this is a grant. This is drug and alcohol use grant. And we were just working on with the final details. We finally have with that agency, so I'm asking that we approve the FY15 Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities contract for alcohol use abuse prevention services in the amount of $147,900.
Okay, you heard the recommendation from the superintendent on, what is this, a grant you said?
Yeah, it's a grant.
Yeah, $147,900. Get a motion moved by,
Got a
Mr.
question?
Thornton.
Yeah.
Hold
I have a question now. That's what I was going to.
on. Did you get the motion in the second first,
Yeah,
okay?
I'm a motion.
Moved by Mr. Thornton. Got a second on that?
Yes.
Second from Mr. Davis. Now, questions, Mr. Davis.
Motion.
What, you know, I saw that there was a program coordinator. Are there other staffing as well?
Dr. Myers, would you like to just speak to this piece since you've been working on this?
Sure. There are 2 staff hired actually through the contract. There is a program coordinator, and we also have a school social worker who serves at Classic City High School and is implementing Project Success. It's a student assistance program model of alcohol prevention, education, and services at that school.
Okay, so the personnel, services budget would cover two
Yes.
staff people.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
What?
Hold on,
Oh,
hold
yeah,
on.
oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. Thornton and then Ms. Payne.
I yield. My question's not that important.
Go ahead, Ms. Payne.
Well, will our employees be benefited by this program for alcohol abuse?
It doesn't directly serve employees, but I think it helps support teachers and other staff members who may get questions or may have concerns about their students and can make referrals for drug and alcohol assessments and support prevention education in that way. But it's not a direct employee assistance program like we have offered. This is for students.
Well, what program do we have for the employees?
We have an employee assistance contract.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, all right.
We do. We started that 3 years ago,
All right, that's all.
or 4 years ago.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Have any further questions on item 13? Any further questions? Okay, all in favor? Okay, motion passed. Thank you.
Great.
14.
14's program of studies, and again, in my updates, I apologize for a little bit of short notice. It's just a tight time frame because we have to approve our program of studies to do our scheduling early. And Dr. Tavernier is going to talk about the major changes. But we've done a lot of work in the last 3 years of our program of studies, so it's been pretty consistent. And we've worked with guidance counselors and instructional counsel to really streamline and be consistent across the board the programs we offer at our schools. Because there was a time we had a lot of courses that were in our program of studies, they weren't offered, or they weren't offered because they weren't enrolled, and we just need to clean it up with numbers. So our program of studies is in really good shape, and Anissa has done a really job in working with Mark and putting it together. We would like to make a caveat before Mark goes to the agenda that there are a lot of regulations in there, and I think we all know that those are changing constantly.
Yes.
So we're going to put a note on the top that any of these are subject to change with the legislature or
Yeah.
rules and regs that come out of the State Department. And we will change those on the online version when they occur, either if they come out of policy or if in fact we just have to do it. We want to make sure we have the right information. But Dr. Tavernier, do you want to just talk about the programmatic changes?
Sure. Yeah, just procedurally, Dr. Lynn, you're correct. We started actually in October working with the High School Instructional Council, which has representatives from actually all three of our schools on some sort of major substantive changes and recommendations if they had any, and then worked with a subset of folks from each school, including the associate principal, the scheduler, and a couple of teachers on actually really nailing out specific changes. But the primary changes, as you said, for the last 2 years, we've really pared this back and tried to make it very reflective of needed information. This is really a tool for parents and students, and so we wanted to try to make it as user-friendly and as readable as we could. And so what you'll see here primarily in terms of changes are things, for example, some that you actually just voted on are reflected here in terms of changes in the state testing, EOC, and Georgia High School graduation test guidelines. Those things, sort of a moving target that continues to change. We've gone back in and added the fourth math course in the second revision of the math sequence, those kinds of just sort of significant but sort of minor changes that relate to general things that go on in a high school. I did want to point out we added the commitments for high student performance that we worked on last year, so those are now part of the program of study to kind of reflect what we believe in for our teachers and our students, so that our parents can see that as well. I thought that was sort of an important piece that the high schools wanted to put right in the book itself, so it's there. If you notice as you look through it, though, and most of you heard about this, I guess, back in the fall, but the primary changes, Lynn, if you want to go to 40, relate to the programs at the Career Academy, where we took, as an instructional council, took a pretty significant look at what programs we were currently offering at the Career Academy and working with Athens Tech to identify some other new pathways that we hope our students will be very interested in taking. So the program of study reflects those. On the left, if you see there on the left or on the screen, and again, Dan Smith and Katie Earl would talk to you about those. An agricultural pathway related to agribusiness is going to be brand new next year. Criminal justice and culinary arts. Criminal justice we've had since the Career Academy opened. Culinary arts actually was new this year, so we'll continue that. Early childhood remains since we opened. We're bringing an event coordinator pathway in to work with our hotel restaurant industry. Healthcare access representative. I'll just talk for a minute about that. We, in the past, have offered a health pathway that was basically a nurse aide sort of a thing. It was sort of more of a allied health pathway. This is a different little focus, and this is basically focusing on the healthcare business. This will allow students to actually, when they complete, go in and work immediately in a hospital setting, either through the kind of the billing department or kind of the triage when you go in, how they're asking you questions, typing in your insurance information, those kinds of pieces. So students could actually work in a healthcare setting while they went on and became a nurse or did another piece at Athens Tech. Interior design, this is another brand new pathway, and this isn't necessarily paint and fabrics, but it's more using CAD and AutoCAD, sort of an engineering almost type angle to interior design, which I think will be very, very appealing to some of our students. Internet security basics is also brand new. This is about cybersecurity. We read about it and hear about it all the time. That's also a brand new pathway. A mechatronics technician remains. That was new last year. That's the partnership with Caterpillar. Mobile security technical specialist, brand new as well. A personal robotics technician, dealing with the robotics. Video game design, also brand new. And then the early college essentials, that is not new, except that Athens Tech has come up with a way that we can package that so that students that complete a particular sequence of courses would have an early college certificate. And of course, all of those courses transfer to any technical college or college in the university system of Georgia. So, for example, we've got a student leaving in May with 24 early college credits. So she'll actually enter UGA in the fall as basically a sophomore, close to a sophomore. So that's just one example.
And Dr. Tavernier, I mean, the nice thing about that has been very creative is they've included, I believe, the AP combination.
Correct.
So
Yes.
typically, the pathway would have been a certain number of courses taken in the dual enrollment college to qualify. But Athens Tech has modified that because we try to determine whether students should take AP or dual enrollment. What this allows students to have to take, I think, a minimum of 2 college courses, but they could take 3 AP courses or whatever it is, and if they score 3 or better, they will combine the dual enrollment and the AP. So people could take both, and that would count toward that strand. And I thought that was I thought that was
Yeah,
incredibly
it's pretty
ingenious.
neat. Yeah, it's very, very good.
Explain that one more time.
So let's just say this, let's just say that the college, to get the pre-college certificate, typically you would need 5 college courses.
Okay.
I go to career academy, I gotta take 5. Now, people often decide, well, should I take 5 college courses, but wait, I only wanna take 2 college courses and 3 APs. In the old model, you wouldn't get your certificate.
Okay.
But with Athens Tech, okay, if you take at least 2 from us, and you get us 3 or better in 3 of your APs, we will count them and give you the certificate. So now students can feel comfortable in taking, you know, they don't have to make the choice. I make a choice of all dual enrollment. I can take both and get that certificate.
Right, it is a hybrid. It's not one or the other. It's both. It's sort of the best of both worlds.
And Athens Tech is giving the certificates that's coming out of Athens Tech?
Yes.
That's correct.
He has a question.
I think then I'm after David.
Well, then I'm
I'd say go to Mark. There you go.
I have a question about, it says that, this is a partnership between Clarke County School District, Athens Technical College, and the University of Georgia. How does the University of Georgia fit into this?
So many of these pathways, once students complete them, and they can go to Athens Tech, finish it out there, and then all of those transfer immediately to UGA.
Okay, good.
So like the agribusiness is one, a new one, that where there's an articulation agreement between our district and Athens Tech, and then between Athens Tech and UGA. So it's a seamless path. It's all, yeah.
And UGA was one of the partners in the actual career academy.
Right.
And then, and my next question, we always talk about J.J. Harris being a charter school, a charter school, but actually, the way this is written, we have 2 charter schools.
Yeah, this is really called a program, actually, because it doesn't have its own school number. It's quite unique.
Okay.
But yes, if someone said, how many charters do you have? 2.
2.
Okay.
Mr. Huff?
Yes.
Thank you. And after you, Ms. Payne.
Just the detail is when we talk about, you know, we can have these AP and you score 3 or higher, and it's transferable. I mean, Athens Tech will take it, but Georgia may or may not take a 3. You might
That's
have
correct.
A 4 or
Right.
something, right? I mean, just
Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Payne.
My mind, when you get my age, you start worrying about health care, and mine is about health care. I've noticed that you have, how many pathways you have, because there are several avenues that you can go in healthcare now. How many do you have?
There's just one. There will be just one at the Career Academy.
Just one?
Mhm.
And not going in, you're not taking on anything else in healthcare?
Not at this point.
But what I want you to know is that the one, though, allows
Yeah.
mobility to go into
A
the others
multiple.
at Athens Tech. And some of those Athens Techs are very competitive. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but this will position yourself that you then could go to Athens Tech and enter into a more intense pathway there. We just don't offer it as a career academy.
Okay, but when they get there, they can go in these other areas.
It allows, oh yeah, it does.
Right,
Oh,
because it's going to take 4 or 5 courses, one being a medical terminology course, you know, those kinds of things that would really, I think, well position those students to be very competitive.
That's right.
Okay,
That's what we think.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Tavernier,
Yes.
I want to go back to what Mr. Huff said a few minutes ago. A little light went off in my head. Okay. On the AP courses, advanced placement, now you got 1 through 5. Of course, after 2 or 1 or 2, you know you're not there. But Mr. Huff mentioned a few minutes ago, if you make a 3, well, University of Georgia may not accept you. But I know when I was principal, when you made a 3, you still would get, I believe, 10 points added to your
That's correct.
GPA. And if that bumped that student's GPA, Georgia did accept some of it. Now, they may have changed. I don't know.
It's all good, you're right.
Okay, all right. Well, that little light went off in my head. Thank you.
You're right.
Because making a 3 on a AP course, that's pretty powerful. Those are some tough tests.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
These courses go toward exemption, right?
Correct.
So
Yes.
I
That's
don't-
right.
I think
Oh, you're correct.
we need some other discussion on that, yeah.
You know, I know that we smiled when the young people received their awards. I saw you give me that smile about the entrepreneur piece. I was looking at most of these up there. Is there a thought, or do I just need to keep plucking your brain to how can we create an entrepreneur piece built in, not a separate class, but how is there a way to roll that in to some of these courses that we're already, I mean, you may not even
I don't
that
have
answer.
examples, but I do know that in our conversations with some of these courses, they lend themselves. When you go into apps, I can't speak for Athens Tech because they're designing them, but I think it's a good question that there's an entrepreneurial element that we're connecting with ever so slowly across, and I think it easily support that. I don't know exactly how yet.
Well, I just want to keep it
Yeah,
on
I know.
the
Keep
front
it
radar.
on the table. Absolutely. I would just want to make a note too. Just it would not ever need to be your own person with your children, but my oldest went through the program and does medical billing in Massachusetts, and she does very well. And it's a very good career, and I think there's a big demand for those individuals in hospice or
Yeah.
doctor's office.
Yeah, healthcare too.
All right, Mr. Davis, and
Healthcare,
then Miss,
another one.
Mr. Davis, and then Miss Davis. Oh my God, 2 Davis. Okay.
What have we, because we've got some great things going at the Career Academy, and just offering a kind of a wealth of opportunities there. And our enrollment, is it moving up? I think last year was like 124.
It's about the same. It's pretty stable.
What my question is I'm looking at what is at the home high schools, and if we've made any changes in terms of the career clusters that we're offering on our home.
Not for next year. We have the same. We have our intro business pathway that's still that's at both high schools. Actually, all 3 high schools. Both high schools have an agricultural pathway. Cedar Shoals has an auto mechanics pathway. There's a graphic arts pathway at both high schools. Am I forgetting one? I think that's it.
And not marketing, it's the early learning and the.
Oh, and the
We're
high
offering
school
intro courses at the high school.
Yes.
Where kids could take the intro course at the high school level, and then
move to the
in business and in early learning, I believe.
right.
Which-
And then the intro healthcare is, we only have one course right now, and that's offered at the Career Academy, but it's a high school
That's a high
course.
school course.
Okay, so if I wanted to do what the state recommends, that, if I, for whatever reason, am staying at my home high school, and I want to do what, in terms of my course planning, that I wanted to follow a career pathway, we certainly have the choices with the academic advanced areas that the state has made into a pathway. And we have the fine arts.
Right.
What I'm wondering about, and I did talk to Dr. Lanou a few months ago. I mean, my concern is that we're not offering opportunities for students specifically who are having difficulties passing the Compass entrance exam.
Yeah, and I do, because I was pretty adamant about that.
Right, I know.
And right now, our pathways in our high school courses are not full. I think what we've done is not look at location, but look at pathway. We offer pretty robust pathways for kids, including ROTC and a number of others. But we don't offer everything that was all disjointed. which is what we had. So we've not filled, we ask kids to choose and select their pathway. And if that stretches them to pass a 10th grade compass test, then they ought to do that and look for a tech certificate. But we've also created intro courses and other pathways. And if there are some individuals that we've said along the way that couldn't pass a compass test but want to complete it, we have online, we have St. Georgia Virtual, there are many different ways to do it. But right now, we're not even full with the current high school offerings. So I'm not, I'm
Right. No.
I'm pretty adamant about that.
Can I just ask you a question, what
Sure.
you just said? When you say not full, are we saying that the course selections at the Career Academy are full?
No, neither one are.
No.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is that we have capacity for both.
Right. And I guess what my question is that if our expectation in terms of what would be full at a high school, at our home high schools, would be have a different definition than what would be full at the Career Academy.
Here's what I would say. Here's what I would say. I mean, maybe full is not the right word. That you still have an opportunity to enroll in it. All I'm saying is we have not turned students away from any of the interests in which the pathways we've approved.
So
It's
where are the kids?
What's that?
Yeah, where are the kids? If they're not,
We have multiple pathways, much more than others. Some could be in an arts pathway.
Right.
But every kid is in a pathway.
That started with, it's not to seniors, it's really by law 9th and 10th grade.
9th and 10th graders.
But all of them had to choose.
Have to declare a pathway.
Absolutely. Okay.
but declaring a pathway may be different than actually following a pathway.
Right. Well, that's what we have to work with because you want it to be interchangeable.
Right.
But all the pathways that we offer, we have courses to do that.
Okay.
Curriculum is there for the pathway, is what I'm hearing.
No, my understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you declare a pathway, airplane engineering.
Whatever.
Okay, we don't offer that, but I have declared a pathway.
No.
You don't
You
declare
can't do
one
it. No,
that's
you
not
can't do
in-
that.
You can only declare a
No, you
pathway
only
from the
declare
list that we
pathway what
offer.
we have to offer.
Right.
I mean, if we started declaring pathways, we get school, they could never offer them.
Okay, do we have an idea of what pathways our students have?
Yes.
We're monitoring. I mean, it's pretty new. Last year we just rolled it
Last year was the
out.
first year, but yeah, we know how many kids are in each pathway.
Is that something that we can get access to the board, for the board?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because that would be very helpful for me.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think there's two things. Our goal in all this was for students to choose a pathway and allow that pathway to influence your decisions. And if you look at our pathways, they're very laid out. Here's our courses that we take. But on the other hand, we're also very clear as not everyone's going to know exactly what they're going to do when they're 14. They're not. In fact, one could even argue that 25% of the jobs that are going to occur in 4 years don't exist today. So, and we know that most people in their career are going to change jobs 5 or 6 times. So, we know those are pretty flexible. I think we have a lot of work to do still in trying to get kids to adhere and understand what that pathway means. That's House Bill 186-7, one of those. But we can get that information, but we're pretty new at it still. But we've defined a pretty comprehensive range of opportunities for kids. By the way, which includes ROTC. It's a pathway.
Now, can I ask my question?
Sure, go ahead, Ms.
My
Davis.
question was about this certification process, and that's issued by Athens Tech.
Yes.
And what does it do for a child when they get that certificate? What do they do?
Which one, the tech certificate?
Yes, from Athens Tech,
Yeah.
the new one that we just introduced. What does it do
Yeah,
for them?
so I've been working on that, Mark knows, but what happens, there are different levels, even when you take the compass test. The compass test is not all or nothing.
Right.
The compass test has different levels that allows you to go into a tech strand and associates, and in fact, Athens Tech would work with us about some differential for kids to get in. But the tech strand usually is what, 3 courses or 4?
3 or 4.
3 or 4, which means I take courses only within that area. but I don't take the necessary biology or English to get an associate's degree. It's a tech certificate.
Okay.
But certainly in our talk with the industry and with Dr. Tidings, the ones that are getting hired are those with a tech certificate. That strengthens their ability. Because
I think that was what I was trying
right.
to get to. Who recognizes this certificate?
That's right.
It's fine to
That's
give it,
that's
but
the work.
If nobody's going to recognize it, then
We had
So
before
industry does.
in our CTA, you're supposed to be industry certified.
Certified.
We only had 9 kids in 1 year that actually passed industry certification.
Okay.
So our goal is, you know what, our kids can do this work. They're showing us they can do this work. We ought to expect that they can do this work.
So this is kind of like that work ready
That's
process.
correct.
That
Correct.
The
was
tech
rolled out a few years
certificate, I
ago.
think, is probably one of the most powerful pieces because
Okay.
it's not an associate's degree,
Right.
but I've got my 4 courses in the industry taught by those currently in the field through Athens Tech.
Is it a subset of work ready?
What's that?
Is it a subset of work readiness?
The work ready
I don't
know.
designation is kind of that was an issue about 4 years ago.
We don't know.
That-
Okay.
yeah, that one's-
I was just trying to
that
figure
one's
out
kinda
what
over there
drove this
somewhere.
certification process. That's all. We can
That
have a conversation
certification, Ms.
later.
Davis, Ms. Davis, that certification for sure gonna get your foot in the door. Okay? Once you get to the table, then you're gonna have to impress them in terms of the training that you have received. You can do that job.
Well,
They're gonna- it's
if
gonna get
it
your foot in
helps
the
you move
door.
ahead of somebody, that's fine. But I just, again,
Absolutely.
what's the value? What's going to make our kids want to get it?
Right.
How do we sell that program?
Last question, the tech certificate, is that, can you get a tech certificate in all these different pathways? Or, I mean,
Yes.
Mhm. Yes, yeah.
Yes.
It's certified work.
And,
Yes.
but you can't get a tech certificate without going to Athens.
That would be
Tech
correct.
after
That's correct.
finishing it.
That's correct.
And that we, meaning the district and Athens Tech, we chose these because these were programs that offered the certificate and they were done.
And-
Yeah, I mean, that was the
And
reason we picked these.
There are areas in
Where
the
there are
field
jobs,
that
Their career.
they're corrupt.
Yeah, where there are opportunities to work.
But you couldn't get a tech certificate for early college essentials. No.
I think that actually is a certificate.
It is a certificate,
Early-
yeah,
But
but
it's not a
But it's
tech.
not a
like-
quote
yeah.
tech, it's an early college.
But all the others have tech certificates.
Okay, Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir, thank you. What you talked about was that we currently have a healthcare program that we're exchanging out for another healthcare program. Is that correct?
correct.
So what are we exchanging away from again? What was that?
We were offering a nurse aide certificate.
Is it, I mean, was there some consideration about, let's say, taking that program and offering that on the high school level? Because it is a certificate program.
Yeah.
No, I mean, part of the difficulty, so this is sort of a technical thing, but part of the difficulty we offered that pathway, and one of the reasons Athens Tech actually asked us to move, we worked with them to move away from it, is because in this community there are not opportunities. One of the requirements is a large number of hours in basically an internship. They have to do like a residency at a facility, and there aren't facilities in this community that are willing to house students, theirs or ours, and there aren't. They can't complete it.
Is that right?
That's correct.
So
And again,
you're talking about the
good
CNA,
Lord.
Certified Nurses Assistant program?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I had that when I
Yeah,
was at.
but-
Yes.
Okay.
That's sad.
so we moved it to something that they actually could complete and get a certificate in within the school day.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is the last comment I'll make, and I think I've talked to some board members individually about my concerns about the offerings that we are giving students or not giving students in terms of the homeschool. So I just ask us to reflect upon that and just look at, as board members, you know, what our offerings are to students who are not, and that's something else I would like to find out too. Who's taking the Compass test? Who's passing it? Who's not passing it? And, you know, what are the ramifications? You know, why aren't students? Why don't we have everybody over at the Career Academy? And so I just ask the board to consider that when we look at the disparity between what's being offered at the Career Academy and what's being offered in the
So,
home schools.
right. So, and I want to go, because I also want to be clear where I stand, and I've talked to Board Member Davis. In this district, I have not set a low bar for our children. I have not, and so when we talk about those individuals that can't pass the compass to do higher level work, I say, why not? And that's the direction that we need to go for our children. And we've also taken a very clear position. This isn't about career academy or home high school anymore. This is about career pathways. It's not where I sit. I don't go to the career academy for a different school. So we're getting kids to make choices on pathways, not location. I mean, and that's sort of what we're building. So.
Well,
Well, Phil, so actually, it's not, you're saying it's not the building. It's
pathway.
not,
There you
it's
go.
the
It's the
pathway,
pathway.
whether it's at the home school.
Correct.
Or at the career academy.
Correct.
The
That's correct.
quality and the education component is equal.
They offer different programs. I think what I'm trying to say is that I think there was a mindset, I went to my home high school or I went to the career academy. In the whole pathway business, you choose your pathway. And if it's offered at the high school, I go to the high school. If it's offered at the career academy, I go to the career academy. And that's how we've maximized our resources, because we can't offer all these programs at individual schools. And
But-
so this is where this is what the new House bill has said, is pick a pathway. And how do we get there? And, you know, and Board Member Davis, you're right. There are some kids in there we've got to kind of work with. We've got to be flexible, but we're only going to get there till we get the end of that pathway. They're still really new at it. But we know in this whole thing, if there's someone that really didn't pass the compass test and we need to finish this industry pathway, we got to figure it out. Do you know what I mean? But that's not what we're offering right up front like we did before. So I mean, I acknowledge what you're saying. I think what we're doing is really pushing our children, and they have responded.
I mean, if we had 124 last year and we have 300 this year, I would say we're moving up, but we're staying the same.
Right.
And I don't know why.
Yeah, and that's what we're working on. Is it our programs? What is it? Is our intro?
And
Yeah,
that's why we changed a lot of these.
Yeah, and that's why we put some of our intro courses as high school courses back for 10th graders.
Mm-hmm.
Take your intro course, and if the pathway articulates to no college, then go over to the career academy. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of that interim step. People are comfortable.
I say this from experience, being a retired high school principal. We used to offer the world.
that's right.
I mean, the program was steady.
Sure did.
But once you put it out there in terms of students pre-registered let's say in the spring of the year, for the courses they're going to take starting back in the fall of the year, they never chose those courses. Now, Dr. Lanou is right on it. You know, first of all, when you look at a ninth grader, they may change their mind, I don't know how many times, etc. You don't know what direction they're going in. So therefore, if you're teaching them and showing them the pathway, etc., and I really like that approach, because just to offer all of these courses and not having them to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, it's not going to work. Looking at the program of study, and I was navigating through it this afternoon on my iPad. Of course, we used to get a paper copy there, and I know it's been cut. Well, I know we make this. It's been those courses have been cut down, and I like the pathway approach because when you look at the 9 through 12 in high school, folks, it's a difficult task in terms of what kids are deciding what they want to do once they graduate from high school, especially, and even I say 9th graders, even sometime when you get to the 10th grade or the 11th grade, you know, they still haven't decided. And some have changed their mind. Ms. Payne?
Mr. Worley, when you was principal out there and before, they had all those subjects out at City Shows, and it was very instructive. My son got a certificate in welding. He got a certificate in mechanic. He got a certificate in heating and air conditioning. But they don't offer these courses now. And as you travel up and down the highways and you see the new building going up, these carpenters are coming out of can't think of it now. Mexican Mexico, because they are trained in the school. And several years ago, whenever they had several of those buildings going up over in, at the University of Georgia, they had to go over in South Carolina to get brick masons out of South Carolina. They had a lot of young people because they had many programs over there. We don't have that kind of program now for our young people. And these Mexicans are coming in and doing all the building, and I'm a contractor. And so I don't know what we're going to do in years to come.
So let me.
If they go home,
Yeah.
we won't get no building built.
Yeah, let me, and this is sort of a precursor because we're looking at the charter, but one of the conversations that we're having is to really change how we think of developing our workforce. I mean, let's put it in this perspective. And Mr. Payne, I use you because you asked me a question. And the question was, why don't we have people going into auto tech because you make $80,000 a year?
Yes.
And what I said is, because I can't find a teacher because I pay them $45. Or a teacher that's worth it. But I think we really have to change. I mean, here's a whole different thought. Rather than say, come into our schools and practice, and when you practice enough, I'll send you out into the workplace. What would happen if I said, you know what, I'm going to go to the workplace and say, listen, how about if I pay you to teach the course? Because it makes more sense for me to put you over there.
Yes,
Do you know what I
yes,
mean?
yes.
And actually teach the course, call it the old apprentice program. Here's the standards, give you credit while you work. You're the professional, you're in the field. So to Mr. Davis is right. I think we got to do something different. But I think it's not about creating more courses that we put in an artificial construct and then try to send you out to do practice. I just send you out there. And so you're going to see in our charter is for us to be really creative. Why don't I just work with a welder and say with a welding company, you know what, I'll give you some money that I would pay for a teacher to teach welding. Here are the courses. We'll get certification waivers, have you work.
That's true.
And
That would be good.
so, I mean, I think that's a much more
better.
natural model than what we've done,
Yes.
where we try to bring people into schools and recreate things,
Right.
and then send them out and hope to have enough practice.
What you just explained, Dr. Lanew,
Sure.
that's the old co-op program.
It's,
Yeah.
it's an old
Yeah.
apprentice,
That's exactly
but we
what it
put
is.
all the coursework
Yeah.
into the work
That's good. That's
Makes
good.
sense to me.
That's good.
There you go. Well, Dr. Terry then?
You good?
Yeah, we finished with Dr. Terry then?
He ready to sit down now.
Okay.
It's the Dr. Terry.
It's my understanding, I always thought that no one was actually going and spending the whole day at the Career Academy.
No, it's half day.
There's every student is going to the Career
Some
Academy.
half day or
Pretty much, you're spending half the day at your home school and the other half the day at Career Academy. Okay, I just.
or some are actually spending whole days and doing internships. I mean, it really kind of.
Just
I have one tiny little point to bring up. I had lunch with a mom yesterday who's super excited about her one son and his accomplishments with the Career Academy, and she thinks it's fabulous, and she's so thrilled. And she has another son who's like, darn, I wish I did that too, and she thinks he will next year. But the one concern is that the son at the Career Academy is in band, and that is a huge part of his life. And band is only offered fourth period at Clarke Central. And if you're at the Career Academy, you don't get back over to Clarke Central for a fourth period class. Anyway.
Yes, we know fourth period's a problem.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, at both
That's it.
sites.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's been a problem forever. There again, on high school breakfast, Ms. Ellis, what you talking about is like a singleton.
Yeah.
You offer it one period.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you do with that master schedule. Well, that's why my head is wide.
Well, this kid's huffing it and eating his lunch in his car to get back
Right.
to fourth period band because he didn't want to miss out.
Okay, any other questions? If no further questions, we're gonna move to item 15, Dr. Lanew.
I don't think you had a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or and a vote.
My God, we discussed it so much.
That's all right.
Okay. All right. Item 14, high school program of study. Okay, I need a motion.
We had a motion.
We had a motion, got a second. Okay. We don't have any further questions here. Now, let's vote. All in favor? Okay. Thank you very much. Motion
Second was
passed.
Greg Davis. The first
Greg.
was Oviedo.
Opposed?
Okay, got one opposed there?
Who opposed, please?
Greg Davis. Okay. All righty. Now, item 15. I'm
I
sorry.
recommend approval of the personnel recommendations and addendum.
Okay, the recommendation from the superintendent on personnel recommendations and the addendum. We had one addendum there. Got a motion from Mr. Payne? Got a
Yes.
second on that? Second for Ms. Ellis. All in favor? Did we get unanimous on that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Now, I know I get a unanimous vote on this. All righty, motion to adjourn. Moved by Ms. Davis, second by Mr. Davis. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand before you leave here, folks.
David, you ready to get out of here?
All right, everyone.
Davis and Davis.